Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Barbadians are demanding tighter scrutiny over investments made by the National Insurance Scheme, the NIS. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 18th August 2022. Details when we return.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. With the recent announcement that the NIS in Barbados is likely to go broke by 2034, Bajans are up in arms, and at a recent town hall meeting hosted by the NIS top brass, some of them got a chance to vent. More in this Barbados Today news item.
Is there any way for us, Bajans who have contributed to the scheme, to recover those funds? Because that is part and parcel of the problem. We cannot be putting money into a fund and every time the government has an issue, they dip into the fund. Because at the end of the day, when you dip into the fund, you're dipping from money from the citizens. We didn't tell you that you could dip. No one asked us if you could dip. But now you're here and you're asking us for solutions to a problem that you guys created. We didn't create this problem. We are law-abiding citizens who contributed faithfully to a scheme, thinking that when we get 65, they move the table to 67, that we're assured a pension. It's not fair.
I believe that the first thing that has to happen, no matter how strong the board is that the 10 years without audited financial statements is unacceptable. We need to know what the position is. I heard the Auditor General say that not only is PAYE, no, isn't right, that National Insurance is paying dead people. That I have a problem with. I believe that if there is an audit and things are put in perspective, we will be able to move forward from a better position.
I have a concern with the fact that money was borrowed from the NIS and not paid back. And I feel that somebody should be held responsible for that. With KIPO, if as a small business person, you have to submit your financials every year. And if we have a National Insurance Department and all of these top people inside there, and we cannot get audited reports on a regular basis, then somebody should get fired. That's how I feel. At this point, I feel that legislation should be put in place that no more money should be borrowed from NIS for the next 12 to 15 years, unless it is for investment purposes.
Actuary Derek Osborne underscored the need for better management of the fund.
We have to find a way, as she said, to ensure that governance, that I mentioned good governance earlier, right? And I think it really relates to good governance and strong boards. So if there is a phone call from a minister or pressure from the government to lend some more money beyond what your limits say is acceptable, you say no, right? And I think, so we have to find a way to have boards and leaders that are going to be responsible and ensure that the funds are borrowed and invested wisely.
News just coming to hand relating to the sentences handed down in the St. George's Magistrate Court on Wednesday regarding the matter involving the Harbour Master party boat and Anderson Peters and his brother. For grievous harm, each convicted man was fined $3,500 EC to be paid forthwith and in default 1 year in prison. For causing harm, each convicted man was fined 2,000 EC dollars to be paid forthwith and in default 6 months in prison. The convicted men remain in custody until fines paid. In other news, a poll shows the Jamaican public has more confidence in the Jamaican Defence Force, JDF, than the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the JCF. TVJ's Andrea Chisholm has been looking at the data and filed this report.
To serve, protect, and reassure. That's the motto of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF. It's been around for over 150 years and has over 11,000 serving members. Through a number of divisions and branches, the police investigate all crimes, from murders to cyber crimes. Steps have also been taken to root out corruption from within. Community policing is also front and center as it seeks to build partnerships with citizens and become a force for good. For the Jamaica Defence Force, it was formed in 1962, 60 years of existence, designed to defend Jamaica against external aggression and civil disorder. It's also instrumental in search and rescue operations. Now, from time to time, the police and army will team up to maintain law and order throughout Jamaica. But what level of confidence do citizens place in them? The question was put to 1,113 people during the July 16 to 26 period. Let's begin with the JCF. 47% of those interviewed had no confidence in the police. 47% also had a little confidence, and 6% had a lot of confidence. For the JDF, 26% had no confidence, 49% had a little confidence, and 25% had a lot. Pollster Don Anderson weighs in.
We've done a number of studies for the Ministry of National Security, for the National Integrity Action, and so on. And generally, this is the pattern. People repose a lot more confidence in the army than they do in the police force. No question.
The RJR Gleaner Don Anderson poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Jamaica's Chief Justice Brian Sykes calls for changes to the operations of two key local anti-corruption agencies. More in this Dwayne Anderson TVJ report.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes did not mince words when he addressed members of the justice system at a church service on Sunday. He questioned whether taxpayers were getting the returns on their investments in prosecutorial units at agencies such as the Integrity Commission and the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency, MOCA.
I won't say whether it is a good thing or a bad thing, but what I will say is this, that if one looks at the record of the DPP and looks at the record of those offices, I suspect you may safely conclude you're not getting the same kind of results and impact.
The Chief Justice reasoned he was not questioning the capacity of the lawyers at MOCA and the Integrity Commission, but instead wanted to publicly remind the authorities of the value of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Prosecutorial expertise is acquired over time. It is not something you get out of a book. It's something you have to do and to practice. And respectfully, those agencies simply do not have the breadth and depth of experience. And so immediately, once you put the prosecutors there, they are sort of cut off from 60 years of experience. That is why you're not getting the returns.
Hence this proposal that would mean a major shake-up for MOCA and the Integrity Commission.
So if one wishes to get the appropriate return on investment, something that I've said privately, now I'm saying it publicly, is that all of those need to be brought under the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Failing that move, he warned, bodies such as MOCA and the Integrity Commission could lose a lot of legal minds.
And this is the other fundamental thing. It also creates a career path for them. Those other agencies really don't. And it is not surprising that you have the results there, because there's a ceiling in terms of how high you can go. And if you are not in the AG's department, you are not in the DPP's department, then the only way out is to leave.
Chief Justice Sykes, in the meantime, reaffirmed his commitment for the justice system to dispose cases within 2 years.
There's no reason why I can't move from point of entry to disposition, not reaching the Court of Appeal now, to disposition in the Court of Appeal in 24 months. There's no reason why it can't happen. It's a matter now of using the technology that's available to increase productivity.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
Family, friends, and former media colleagues of Margaret Roberts Steele gathered at the Holy Trinity Anglican Church on Monday in St. Lucia to pay tribute to the late broadcaster. Zane Romulus of the DBS News World reports.
Tribute was paid to Margaret Roberts Steele by some of the many broadcasters whose careers had been influenced in some way by her. Her work spans decades, which started when she joined the defunct Windward Island Broadcasting Service in 1956. Her voice became synonymous with quality interviews and vivid outside broadcast commentaries. She was often called on to conduct training for young broadcasters and has inspired 3 generations of broadcasters, especially young women.
One of the most empowering experiences of my early career was to sit shoulder to shoulder with Mrs. Steele, sharing a mic on an outside broadcast. The 1,000 degrees of separation between our experience, our knowledge, and training evaporated, and we became equals, simply Margaret and Barbara, colleagues. She took control of these OBs, but all the while treating me as if I too had been trained at the BBC.
Margaret always took the time to pass on gems of professionalism from her vast knowledge of broadcasting to us, the young on-air staff. We learned the importance of diction, articulation, pronunciation, intonation, voice modulation, voice inflection, how to read at a steady pace, conduct interviews properly, and how to present programs of every musical genre.
A Grenadian by birth, Roberts Steele settled in St. Lucia after marrying in 1969. She was awarded a member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire in 2019.
If you are thinking of something to live on, to carry on Sister Margaret Steele's legacy, I would encourage any one of the group of trainers whom she has trained to invite or come in and train some of our young people where we can have some young Margaret Steele.
Margaret Roberts Steele passed away in her sleep on July 19th, 2022. For the DBS News World, I am Zane Romulus.
Lou Smith, Grenada's veteran broadcaster par excellence, wrote on his Facebook page, "Not too long ago, I did a post announcing the death of an outstanding Grenadian female broadcaster, Margaret Roberts Steele. She was, as we'd say, before my time. But as a boy with a cousin, Jerry Romaine, living with us in Green Street and working in radio, WIBS, short for Windward Islands Broadcasting Services, with headquarters in Grenada, I developed a keen interest in radio. I never knew her on a one-on-one basis, but I heard her voice every day from studio reading the news, doing a music program, or doing an outside broadcast, example a military parade. Her voice was what people wanted to hear. I expected one of my colleagues to call and inquire as to who is this person, but no one did. However, I was heartened to read the tributes paid to this woman of the soil by folks in St. Lucia, including the Minister of Culture, fellow associates, and among others, my mentor and icon, Julian Rogers. Margaret had worked with WIBS in Castries and made St. Lucia her home. Someone referred to her as the Queen of Caribbean Broadcasting.
Hubbard's Motor Department, Mount Gay, and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.